Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the next session in ethology. It's a concept under biological clocks. It's a photoperiodism. So before we go into photoperiodism, we need to understand what is a photoperiod. Photoperiod is a relative duration of the light and dark periods of a day. That is actually how many hours of light or how many hours of dark. So light hours and dark hours, the duration is what is referred as a photoperiod. So we can define a photoperiod as the relative duration of the light and dark periods of a day that may favor the optimum functioning of organisms. So the functioning or the behavior of organisms are determined or influenced by the photoperiod. So how an organism behaves in a photoperiod or with respect to the photoperiod is what is referred as a photoperiodism. Photoperiodism can be defined as the behavioral patterns of organisms or behavioral activities of an organism in response to the periodic changes in the relative length as well as in the changes in the intensity of daylight. Okay, so that kind of behavioral pattern is what is referred as a photoperiodism. So many behavioral activities of organisms like breeding, migration, estivation, hibernation, etc. are influenced and determined by photoperiod. You may have plenty of examples from the plant world. For example, flowering. Some of the plants, they flower only during long day hours, okay, like only during the summer time or only during the winter time. So that kind of dependence of certain plant species with respect to the flowering is actually a photoperiodic activity. Okay, in animals, the animals also can be seen to respond to either short or long days. In many animals which are sensitive to photoperiod, we can see that the timing or the duration of light and dark hours it actually influences the animal's activity. And for studying that, actually we can alter experimentally, we can alter the photoperiod and we can study how it behaves or how the behavioral changes happen. Okay, it was observed that artificial light can actually bring about breeding season, okay, breeding condition in brook trouts are fishes. Okay, so it has been observed that artificial light can bring brook trout into breeding condition 4 months early. So it is actually the photoperiod which is actually determining the breeding season, okay, or breeding time. Another very interesting example is from the insect world. Photoperiodism in certain insects, we can see that they provide a short of birth control. Okay, long days of late spring and early summer stimulates the brain of the insects to produce a neurohormone, and this neurohormone brings on the production of a diapause or resting egg, diapause eggs. And these diapause eggs, they will not hatch until the next spring. So in 1 year, the generations it is actually almost halted. So no matter how favorable the temperatures, food and other conditions are, these diapause eggs, they remain in the resting condition for almost a year. Thus population growth can be halted before the food supply becomes critical. Okay, so this kind of change in the behavior pattern can be seen influenced by the photoperiod. Another example is from the nitrogen fixing bacteria. It has been shown that number of underground nitrogen fixing root nodules on legumes, the number actually it is controlled by photoperiod acting through the leaves of the plant. That is, the leguminous plants they do have root nodules on the roots, isn't it? And these root nodules are actually stimulated. The formation of these root nodules are actually stimulated or triggered by the nitrogen fixing bacteria. But how many of these root nodules have to be formed on a plant is determined by the photoperiod to which the particular plant is exposed to. Okay, since nitrogen fixing bacteria in the nodules, they require food energy manufactured by the plants to do their work. The more light and chlorophyll, obviously the more food will be produced by the plant and more food will be available to the bacteria. So such connection actually this help in controlling the number. That maximum coordination between plant and its microbial partners is thus enhanced by the photoperiod temperature. That is, more amount of longer days means more amount of photosynthesis activity, more amount of road nodules in the roads. So all these are connected. So I hope it is clear what is photoperiodism. Now, a photoperiod cycle consists of two alternating phases. It is the light phase and the dark phase. Light phase is the photo phase, and the dark phase is known as the scoto phase. Okay, and organisms have evolved various functional behavioral adaptations to adjust to the changes in the photoperiod cycle. I hope it is clear. Okay, the next concept we have is circadian rhythm. Now, circadian rhythm we'll see in detail. Circadian rhythm is actually otherwise known as the daily periodicity, dial periodicity, and it can be defined as the regularity and rhythmicity or the periodicity in approximately 24-hour day-to-day routine biological activities or behavior of living organisms. Here, circa means about, and dial here refers to day. So it is not exactly 24-hour day; it is approximately. It can be shorter, or it can be longer than 24 hours. Okay. So, operating on an approximately 24-hour basis, we can see that this biological clock is what is referred as the circadian clock, and it is found in almost all the major taxonomic groups of animal kingdom. In their simplest form, they are reflected in the alternating periods of activity and sleep, which correlates with the light-dark cycle. And in this cycle, some animals they remain most active at sunrise and sunset times. These animals are what is referred as the crepuscular. Okay. There are animals who are active during daytime, they are diurnal, while the night active organisms are what are referred as the nocturnal. Okay. In an experiment, it was seen that a flying squirrel was taught to turn a wheel in the daytime and rest during the night. Okay. So after that, the animal was kept in continuous darkness. Now, the observations showed a remarkable precision in the onset and cessation of wheel turning behavior, even in the complete absence of any environmental cues to which it was related. That is, even when there was no light, or even in the absence or presence of light, it didn't matter, but the flying squirrel started to show the same pattern of behavior. Okay, same cycle of behavior it showed. So that is actually circadian rhythm. We can see this circadian rhythm well established or illustrated by honeybees. So in an experiment, these bees were trained to visit a food dish at a certain time of the day. For example, between 12 to 2 in the afternoon, when the sun shines to its maximum and temperature is also high. So large number of bees learned to go to the food dish between this time, and they kept visiting the food dish roughly between these specific time schedule or time range. Even when there was what you call cloudy, if it is cloudy. So whatever be the environmental condition, or whatever be the changes happening, but they kept with the time span, and the bees worked according to an inbuilt clock. Okay. So similarly, some intertidal crabs they exhibit cyclic variation in their shell color. So they are lighter during the daytime, and they become darker as the night falls, and this prevents their detection from predators. So it is again connected with the light day hours or light dark cycle. The internal clock of the bees did not correspond exactly to 24 hours in the experiment. It was a little shorter than 24 hours. Therefore, daily biological clocks are called circadian rhythms. Okay, it is not exactly 24, but it is approximate rhythms. Okay, circadian rhythm they may change with a change of place. They may also change with age. For example, young woodchucks remain active during the evenings only, while their adults remain active almost throughout the day. Similarly, in human beings also, the sleeping cycle gets shorter with the age. Then another example we can see is from young honey badger you may have heard. These remain most active during the early hours to the middle of the day. And as they grow older, it is seen that their activity time is shifted from evening to night. So it is a complete shift towards the afternoon time span. So such kind of changes in the behavior can also be seen. Circadian rhythm can be found to shift with respect to age, and also we can see that it changes from with the change of the place. With respect to human beings that we see, the most recognizable daily rhythm in human beings, it is reflected in jet lag, which happens when we cross from one time zone to another. That is when we are moving from, just imagine, from India to New York, we can see that there's a huge shift from one time zone to another. So, in it is actually, for example, if it is 10 a.m. in India or Delhi, it will be 10 p.m. in New York. So, it is actually a complete what do you call difference in the time zone, right? So here it takes time. So we can see that after undertaking such a kind of a journey from Delhi to New York, the day and night are reversed, isn't it? So the one who travels would be wide awake in the middle of the night and would feel sleepy during the day. So this effect, even though it is temporary, it may remain this kind of a pattern may be shown for a week or so and for a few days, and then it may get reset. The biological rhythm may get reset. Okay, human body shows clear circadian rhythm in many of its physiological functions too. So the body temperature remains high at daytime and goes down by night. The blood is less acidic in daytime. The adrenal secretes smaller amounts of corticosteroids by night. The kidneys excrete less urine during night. So all these physiological activities are also connected with the light-dark cycle, or they show circadian rhythm. Many other activities demonstrating rhythmic nature include like pulse rate, blood pressure, oxygen uptake in lungs. All these are show circadian rhythm. Okay. Another thing we can see is there are it can be connected with photoperiodism. Length of the day or light hours can influence important activities like metamorphosis. Okay, it is actually metamorphosis is determined or influenced by a photoperiod. Okay, so this the larvae of Sarcophaga and Nasonia, it comes from flies. Okay, Sarcophaga. So Sarcophaga and Nasonia, they develop into pupae and then adults after 14 hours of exposure to light. If this period is shortened, then the pupae enters into a period of dormancy or diapause for some time till it is exposed to desirable day length. Okay, I hope it is clear. That is only if it is exposed. The larvae is exposed. What do you call it? The pupae is exposed um, to continuous 14 hours of light, it can emerge into adult. Otherwise, it may go into a dormancy period. On the other hand, pupae of many insects hatch during the cooler days of the cooler parts of the day, that is mornings and evenings, to avoid heat because their skin is wet and soft, and if it dries up quickly, the young insect may even die. So you can see, if you have observed butterflies and all, they emerge out from the pupae during the early morning hours because it is the temperature, environmental temperature is very low. Okay, so that kind of connection can be seen. Another circadian rhythm is regarding the endoparasites. Biological clock of endoparasites set according to the daily rhythm of their host animals and the vector. For example, larvae of the Wuchereria bancrofti, which live in the lungs of the human beings, move to peripheral blood vessels below the skin, from where they are sucked up by the mosquito. Mosquito is the vector. Okay, these are actually the elephantiasis, the parasite which causes elephantiasis, filarial worm. Okay, so in Africa, the larvae are transmitted by a nocturnally active mosquito, and therefore the larvae move towards the peripheral blood vessels at night. But in Fiji Islands, the carrier mosquito is diurnally active, and hence there we can see that the larvae travel to the peripheral blood vessels during the daytime. So you can see the connection. Okay, I hope it is clear. Fine. Then we can see that there are certain conditions to be followed for circadian rhythm, and it is known as Pittendrigh rules or conditions after Pittendrigh 1954. And it says that there are 5 conditions to be adhered to. Okay, any one, if it is not satisfied, the circadian rhythm may not be truly endogenous. The first one says the period should not be exactly 24 hours. Second, it must continue under normal environmental conditions. Third, the phase should be liable to be shifted and subsequent new phase should be retained, resetting. Okay, and fifth, it must be